So welcome to another edition of the Influence Global podcast, and I'm super excited to have a wonderful guest with me today, and that is the president, no less, of TechUK, Sheila Flavell. Sheila, it's lovely to see you.
It's great to be here. Thank you, Gordon, for inviting me.
And pleasure. Where's your background? I can see, for those watching on video, you're in your offices at the moment.
I am. I'm in my office in London, and you can see this is not a backdrop from Zoom. This is a shard. And at the back, I've got the London Bridge Station, and at the front, I have the Thames.
Well,
so it's
what a great view you've got there. Fantastic. So we're going to talk a lot about women in influence, particularly, and in the tech sector, which I'm really excited about.
Thanks, Gordon. Yeah, I'm Chief Operating Officer of FDM Group. We've grown the company from Attic Startup 32 years ago to become a FTSE 250 tech services company. So it's taken us 32 years to become an overnight success, as they say. And of course, I'm also President of TechUK. I'm passionate about diversity, enhancing diversity in the workplace, and creating exciting careers for the next generation of digital talent, which of course is what we do at FDM, and also is a key priority of TechUK. I spearhead FDM's Women in Tech campaign, and their Getting Back to Business program, which is a returners program, really providing opportunities for both men and women who've been out the workplace for some time.
Talk a little bit more about TechUK. What is it for people that don't know who it is?
Okay, so TechUK is the UK's leading tech trade association, and we have now over 1,000 member companies. We support tech firms, their customers, regulators, the government, to capitalize on the benefits that technology can provide. Now, the majority of our members, around 60%, are small and medium-sized businesses, and includes businesses really from every nation and region within the UK. And our interests lie from AI to quantum, from digital transformation, telecoms, you name it, anything within tech. Essentially, we look to create a network for innovation and collaboration across businesses, governments, and the wider stakeholder network to provide a better future for people, society, the economy, and the planet. And we've just released our tech plan, previously called our manifesto, which we've released only a few weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
Now, within our membership of 1,000 odd companies, this equates, Gordon, to around 900,000 employees across the country, and as I mentioned earlier, from every nation and region that's represented within the membership.
Wow. How did the manifesto, did you say you launched it already? You presented
it? Yes, we have. We've presented it. We've launched it. I think maybe it was about a month or so ago. And it's we're getting lots of interest from all areas. Right. And we're hoping that the government, whichever government is going to be in place, with perhaps the election coming up at some point later next year, we hope that they adopt some of our points.
Oh, I hope so too. It's such an important sector to brand UK, isn't it? So what's it like, Sheila, to run an organisation like this? What is it like to be at the head of it?
Yeah, I don't say that I run it. We have a fantastic team and a great CEO with Julian David and Anthony Walker supporting Julian and the many people within TechUK. But for me to be the president, I'm delighted and thrilled to have been elected president. I'd say inspiring. The importance of the work that our members, partners and stakeholders do as they strive to prepare the UK for what comes next. It's hugely inspiring. And we're all incredibly motivated to ensure that tech is the enabler for a better future for all, for everyone. And by that, I mean leaving no one behind. I also find it enlightening in my discussions with our members and stakeholders. I'm struck by the opportunities and the innovations available that we can utilise across the whole of the UK to deliver both economic and societal benefit. But we must, of course, Gordon, consider the risks. And, I know that everyone at the moment is talking about the risks of AI. So I think what I want to do is to play my part in aiming to create a world-leading tech sector. We want to be able to help our members to create the very best environment for their businesses to grow. And we want to improve to better. We do have a good relationship, but you always want to strive for improvement. We want to better our relationship with government and the regulators, which will allow us to advocate for regulatory solutions and policy that help our members to compete within the global tech sector, and obviously, as I said earlier, to grow. And with the fast-moving pace that the tech sector is growing at, policy doesn't always keep up.
No, indeed it doesn't. Indeed it doesn't. I mean, one of the things that, of course, you and I met at London Tech Week, and one of the things that has fascinated me is to see inspiring women start to take a bigger role within the tech sector. But it's still a small percentage, isn't it? I mean, look at the roles on tech boards that are women. It's still a small percentage, but it is growing, isn't it? And I guess some of the work that you're doing in both TechUK and in FDM are trying to help shape that. And what are you doing specifically?
Oh, goodness me. We're doing loads. But women represent 50% of the population of this country, but only 24% of the tech workforce. And yeah, the numbers are growing, things are getting better, but it's growing at a glacial pace, and it's not good enough. But it was only a few years ago, in fact, women represented 17% of the tech workforce. So, and that was maybe about 3 years ago, I think.
So that is progress, isn't it? Even in that short period of time, but yeah, not enough.
It's progressive, but we do have more female role models. When I started out all those years ago, there were no females in senior positions that I can remember. It was very much a male-dominated industry. In fact, a friend of mine who applied, I'm talking about quite a few years ago now, she applied along with her new husband when they left university, applied to, I think it was the BBC, and he was offered an interview, and she's kept her response from the BBC, which kind of said in quite a few words, I'm sorry, but we don't have women in our technology department. Now, she's kept that letter, and she does drag it out every time she speaks at some sort of tech conference or women in tech conference. But that just shows you how we've come on. And in fact, I've been in the workplace for over 50 years, and I started work as a police officer, WPC 247. And that was
Love the fact that you remember it so vividly.
People say to me, I was on duty 24/7, but that was before equal pay was introduced. Now, we were paid less than the men, and I remember when equal pay was introduced and the trouble that caused to us women, because the men didn't think we were good enough. Now, that was in the police force. It was the same across all industry at that time. So we have come a long way, because 50 years doesn't seem that far back in my mind anyway.
No,
but moving on, there's, the FTM board, we're a tech services company. And yesterday we had a board meeting where we announced the arrival of a new non-executive director to replace one of our NEDs who are leaving, who will be leaving next year. And that's a woman. So we now have 4 women on the board, but we ain't finished yet.
Well, that's great to see. And of course, with your role at TechUK, that in itself is hugely inspiring to a lot of people. And I'm so pleased that you've been recognized in so many industry awards as well, which is great to see. CBE, no less, and lifetime achievement, all that sort of stuff, which is great. It's a great accolade to what you are doing. So well done, because I think women need to have role models as well, don't they? They need to know that you can do this.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. But the problem that we're having in industry is that it's not really that difficult to get women in at sort of junior level, at graduate level. It's keeping them that's the problem. And women are still the primary carers. They still carers for their elderly parents as well as their children. And it's tough, if you have a couple where they both have serious roles, you know, something has to give. And inevitably, it's the woman who has to take time out to look after, you know, those relatives that they have to care for. And it's really difficult to get back in. So it's easy to get in as a young person, but not so easy once you've had time out from the industry. And for many, many reasons, and none less than women lose their confidence. You know, I know what it's like because I changed industry when I was a mother of 2 young children, and I had very, very low, a very low confidence level. And we set up at FTM, we set up a returners program. I'm trying to remember how long ago, maybe about 7, 8 years ago. And it was a real challenge to set up the program. I recognized then that there was a shortage of experienced women in the tech space. And we didn't know where to find these women other than go down to the school gates and kidnap them, because women do not have a natural network. Anyway, no. We threw money at all sorts of different advertising to see what would stick. And eventually we started to get women drift in, dribble in, you know, 1, 2, and then we picked up more along the way. And 9 years later, we have a thriving returners program. And we have personally employed, I think, about 400 women into our returners program. Our returners program, I will state, it's not just for women, it's for men as well. But probably about 80% of the participants have been and are women looking to return to the workplace. And what we do is, before we train them in any form of technology, we work with them on their confidence, their self-esteem, their well-being, because if we don't get that right, then they're not in the right mindset to take on board the learnings, or the technical learnings that we want to provide. Now, our clients absolutely love our returners, because by having those in at the mid-level, it means that they can progress up to C-suites in future years. And that's what we want to see.
Yeah.
Women need to have a strong voice at the table, because otherwise we're not creating the solutions, we're not designing the solutions for everyone.
That's really, really important what you've just said there, because it's very important that it's replicated. You know, there are some tech companies that, aside from the gender split, have an age challenge, i.e. a lot of the startups will have people under the age of 30. So what's it like then to take on somebody that's over 50? Like myself, for example. You know, I know that in some sectors you could say, well, you're unemployable because of your age, and it's not, you know, legally it's not specific, but there are certain sectors where they just don't employ older people, and there's so much focus on graduates and internships and obviously helping. But there's also this thing at the other end of the sphere. As we get older, there's lots of talent and knowledge at the other end of the age spectrum, isn't there?
Oh my goodness me. Look, I'm going to hold my hands up here and say, FDM, back in the day, we were a very young company. And we employed 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, graduates, and probably the average age in FDM was about 25 back then. However, the world has changed and things have moved on. And we realized quite a few years ago that really you need balance in any organization. It's not just gender balance, it's age, it's ethnicity, it's everything. And so we've been embracing diversity since before the word diversity came into the corporate language. But let's get back to age. Now, as you can see, I'm not 21, and you mentioned that you're a baby, but you're 50. And
I'm nearly 60, Sheila.
Oh, you're nearly 60.
Yeah.
Well, that makes me feel better, because I am in my 60s, and in fact, I am technically an old age pensioner.
Wow, look at that!
So,
fantastic.
And I just love employing people who have experience, and of course experience comes with age. And I've recently employed a woman in her 60s to run one of our key departments in FDM. We have a number of people now who are much older, well into their 50s, and they are brilliant, because they're providing not just experience, but they're providing just good guidance for those younger people, as well as knowledge, as well as everything else. And of course, they are just so pleased to be back in the workforce and be contributing and adding value, which is what we all want to do.
That's my point. And I'm so pleased that you said that, because I totally subscribe to what you said about this mix, because I think, you know, I love being around younger people, as I'm sure you do. They're bright ideas, they're fresh thinking, their creativity, but equally they can learn from us, having trod the boards of business and all the challenges that has created. So it sounds like you've got some fabulous ideas in place there, and well done.
Yeah, and I mustn't forget the question that you originally asked me, and that was the question about TechUK and what's TechUK doing about women. So sorry to interject, Gordon. Excuse me, Rod, I'm on a podcast. Excuse me, I'm on a podcast. Can you go away? Thank you.
I love it. My editor's going to love this episode.
That was my husband and the CEO. It's a results roadshow starting today, and he's just making faces at me, which gets me off. So,
yes. So TechUK, okay. And what they're doing around diversity and women.
Okay, let me not forget your original question. You were asking me about TechUK and what we're doing at TechUK around women and to promote more women within our member companies. Well, we have a rule at TechUK that all our panels that we have at any conference, they cannot be all male. We have to have a mix of male and female. And then we have our TechUK Returners Hub. We are a founding signatory and sponsor of Tech Talent Charter. That's a commitment by organisations to a set of undertakings that aim to deliver greater diversity within the tech workforce in the UK. And that's one that FDM is also a member of. Is that okay?
That's great. No, it's fantastic. That's fantastic. So, yeah, no, I mean, what I want to just touch now, we talked about it right at the start, and the worries, I guess, for so many organizations around AI. Now, AI, I often talk about it as being a fabulous co-pilot to your business, as opposed to a pilot. And you'll know all about pilots, being helicopter pilot yourself. But talk to us a little bit about, you know, particularly in the creator economy. You know, it's an area that I'm very close to. You know, there is a certain amount of worry about technology taking a lot of jobs from tech solutions. So what would your answer be about where AI is going?
Okay, I need to think about this because AI is so new and it's so varied and it's so controversial at this moment in time. You know, I could flip-flop here in my response to you. AI is a powerful, still emerging technology that presents unique challenges as it matures within the creative art space. Now, is AI being used responsibly? There was a report in March on how emerging technologies such as AI should be regulated. And that was, if you might remember, Sir Patrick Vallance, when he was the chief scientific advisor at that time. Do you remember?
I do indeed. Absolutely. Yes.
Now, he recommended that the government announce a clear policy position on the relationship between intellectual property law and generative AI to provide confidence in innovators as well as investors. Now, in response, the government said it was trying to keep the right balance between protecting rights holders and our thriving creative industries, while supporting AI developers across the data that they need. Now, a consultation on the issue closed on June the 4th, which you may or may not know about, and a code of practice, they're saying, should be in place at some point later this summer. The government intends to take a voluntary approach, it's been said. However, this may be followed up by legislation if the code of practice is not adopted or agreements been made. Now, I can see the concerns of the creative industry and copyright, where, you know, where AI sucks the playlist, you know, from well, it sucks it from the web or wherever it comes from. And there's a question about copyright. You know, should it be paid? Shouldn't it be paid? And of course, there's mixed views on that, because now there's a growing tech industry, growing AI industry that will benefit from not having to pay anything.
But these creators, I mean, if you look at whether they be bloggers, whether they be music artists, screenwriters for films, of course, have been demonstrating in Hollywood, and the fact that you've got very smart artists out there that have found that their content has been used as part of creating a script for some particular. I mean, these are the things I synthesize, which is something that's come into my Facebook feed, where I can pretty much write a little note or something, and then I can pick from a load of different individuals, and you know what I've just said is going to come out of their voices, and that video has been completed in less than a minute.
Yeah, and of course, you know, it's so is it good? Is it bad? I think the jury's out on that one. Now, but it's not just the creative industry, of course. It's, as with every technological advancement, the impact of widespread AI adoption on the workplace will transform some jobs and create entirely new jobs. Exactly. So, you know, and you know, there's a lot of hype out there, but it's just very new. 12 months ago, nobody talked about generative AI. Absolutely nobody. And I wonder what we'll be talking about in 12 months' time.
Yeah.
I think, you know, whilst a number of jobs are expected to be replaced by AI, specific roles centered upon these technologies are also expected to grow. So there's talk about the low-level jobs disappearing, you know, call centers, for example, AI taking those, and people then being elevated to better roles, earning better money. So in that, there's huge benefit. And these new positions will include AI trainers, data scientists with an emphasis on skills such as data handling, modeling and analysis and machine learning, as well as roles where people will work supported by AI technology or supporting AI technology. And what is clear is that AI will not be able to replace human judgment. Instead, it'll be a tool that humans will work on alongside jobs in the future. It's critical that workers are equipped with the skills they need to thrive in the technologies supporting the workplace of today and the future. And it's just changing so quickly. And companies across sectors and industries are now looking at how they can implement AI and other innovative technologies across their organizations. And I'm sure you are discussing this with those companies, you know, whilst you're doing the work that you do, Gordon.
Yeah, and it is
AI will...
Go on. Sorry, yes, I interrupted. Sorry.
Oh, you crack on.
No. I mean, I'm fascinated by what some of the efficiencies and savings are. You know, you can create courses or just asking. So I think in terms of ideation, that in itself has been fascinating. About you know, even people that perhaps aren't necessarily great at writing emails in a proper way. Now you can say, look, write an email in the form of and a style of, and it's suddenly, so we are learning and educating ourselves to, I think, a potentially better educated world through AI. And I like that, and I think that is very, very positive. And as I said earlier, I think the ultimate is to have AI as your co-pilot, not your pilot. And in that way, you drive your business forward by having them having the technology alongside your organization.
Yeah, I mean, there was a survey by Experience conducted this year, and they found that more than half expect AI to have a positive effect on their staff headcount over the next few years. And it's interestingly, our CEO here at FDM, Rod Flavell, somebody informed him yesterday that they'd gone into some generative AI tool to ask about FDM, and it mentioned that he'd retired 3 years ago.
Oh, really?
He was quite interested to hear that. And you know, so it's not accurate yet. But of course, once that information's in AI, continue to be generated. So I think at this moment in time, you have to validate any stats, particularly that derive from any AI application. And however, I have to tell you that a friend of mine recently was dumping her boyfriend who was messing her around, and she wanted to write him a letter. So over lunch, we went into Chat GPT, and it came up with a lovely letter. And
I love that.
The relationship ended very favorably.
Well, one of the things that is quite big and is growing in the area of influence, of course, is computer generated influencers, where, you know, people are, and in the same way, look at the Barbie movie, for example, and some of these other cartoons. It was just creating a phenomena about it. So I'm very fascinated by it. This has been great to have a chat with you today, but I've got to leave you with a really important question, which is, you know, in the role and your distinguished career that you've had and are still having, there's got to be somebody that has had a major influence on your life, and I'd love to know who that is.
Oh goodness me! I really don't like these questions. Let me think. Okay, so Rod Flavell, he was the chap who first of all got me into the tech industry, because like you know, I have a marketing background. And well, in fact, before that, I was a police officer, then an air stewardess, before getting into the tech industry. And the reason I mention that is because, you know, tech is for everyone, and you don't have to have a computer science degree as a man or a woman to have a successful and interesting and enjoyable career within the tech industry. And Rod Flavell, he said to me, when I met him, he's an entrepreneur that I met 30 odd years ago, and he said, I can see something in you. I don't know what it is, but if you come and work for me, I'll help you find that something. So I did 32 years ago when he was setting up FDM, and I've been here ever since, and eventually married him.
Yes, I love that.
When I took the job, I wasn't looking for a husband, I will say that. But anyway, I've got a great job, a great career, and a lovely husband too. Sheryl Sandberg, I suppose, she wrote Lean In, her first edition in 2013, and that was a bestseller. And there were over 1 million books sold, I remember. And of course, we all avidly read it, digested it. And I think she was a major influence on women like myself, because she again had quite a diverse career, and she was breaking new boundaries. She broke through the glass ceiling, and what's not to like about that? So it's a book that I've read and reread a number of times, and of course there's been further books as well. And the previous president of TechUK, Jacqueline DeRoppis, who's a great friend of mine, but she's also been someone who's supported me throughout my tech career. She's always been there for me. She's offered guidance, help, support, and you know, we have a very mutual trust and respect for each other.
Yeah, she's an amazing lady. Actually, I reached out to her after listening to her on Desert Island Discs, and her personal journey and her career is actually phenomenal, to be honest. I remember getting quite emotional about her story because of what she'd been through and where she'd come from, and I love that. There's something in us Brits, I think, that we like a journey. We like to know that somebody's got where they've got to with a few ups and downs. It hasn't been with a silver spoon in their mouth. They've broke through, as you say, the glass ceiling, and they've championed something they're really passionate about. So I want to say thank you very much for taking the time out. I know you're super busy, and wish you all the very best with your career, and indeed FDM and TechUK. Where can people find out more about you?
More about me? I'm on LinkedIn, on the internet. There's, you know, I comment quite a lot on articles that I read out there, so there's quite a few comments out there. And of course through TechUK. And if you're not a member, I would say to listeners or viewers, please consider joining. It's a great organisation, and you know, get on board now. And Gordon, I do want to say to you, good luck with your forthcoming book, and I'm sure it's going to be a great success, as the other one was, and be an award-winning book like your first one. So good luck to you, and I hope people read that as well.
Oh, thank you so much. That's been a pleasure talking to you.